Thank you for tuning in to JCal's View. This is JCal, and you're listening to The Journey of a journalist, the chronicles of a content creator, the musings of a madman who is mesmerized by pro wrestling. You need to work on that one. Hey, what a wonderful week it's been. And that's sarcasm. Can you hear it in my voice? I was humbled yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. Lady and gentlemen. Gentlemen. A couple of guys. I was humbled in the worst possible way. Technology, well, she wasn't my friend yesterday. And I'll tell you more about it after this. Also, are you guys checking out the United Wrestling Network's Way Back Wednesdays? Cheap plug, man. You gotta check it out. You have to check it out. But I'll talk to you more about that after this. Hey, so I've got some breaking news that I need to share with you guys because, well, your boy Jay is always trying to make his podcast better. Always trying to make things better for you, the listeners. I'm also always trying to get more credibility with you, the listener. And, you know, I think I might have done just that. I'm not at liberty to say who this person is, but we have a special guest joining us on tonight's recording of the Alliance Guys podcast. Now, that won't be available probably until at the earliest Saturday or Sunday of this week. But I'm going to try like hell to get it ready for you. But we have a surprise guest, and not only is this person somebody who I really enjoy speaking with, and I've talked many, many times to in the past, but it's a former world champion, a former NWA world champion. So, you guys better tune in to this week's The Alliance Guys podcast because we've got a former world champion joining us. So that'll be a lot of fun. But, nevertheless, the show must move ever forward. And ever forward was a brick wall right in front of me yesterday. Crashed right into it. Have you ever been humbled by technology that you almost decided to just throw everything away and go become an Amish? Join an Amish community and churn butter and use candles for lights and use a horse-drawn carriage? Because that was me yesterday, guys. Holy crap. And I use that word to the utmost effect. Holy crap. Everything that could go wrong yesterday did, in fact, go wrong yesterday. Now, this is the chronicles of a content creator, so please bear with me. If you're looking for NWA wrestling news, there will be some towards the end of this podcast. Stay tuned. But, man, yesterday kicked my butt. Now, first and foremost, if you guys have been following me on Instagram on Tuesdays at the Alliance blog, I've been creating what I like to call Rise and Grind. I'm not really sure what the end result will be, and it's patterned after Adam Rotella's Working the Work. Every day, this guy, Adam Rotella, gives you a look into his life, whether it be working at his restaurant or creating content from home or interacting with people on Twitter. I mean, the guy's a machine, and I tip my hat to how hard this guy works day in and day out. I'm not Adam Rotella. Guys, I don't have that driver energy that Adam Rotella has. But what I do have is, ideas. And so I thought Tuesday's usually the busy day of the week for JCal. Your buddy, your boy, your Bubba, whatever you want to call me. Dave Lagana calls me Scoops. So I efforted to document my day, which started off pretty good. Got up early, got into work, no problem. Started continuing to work on the previous week's Alliance Guys podcast, which we film on Wednesday night. So had a rough week trying to even get to that and trying to get that going. But I worked on that all day. In between that, I was also working on a few other projects. Like I said, I'm posting all of this stuff to Instagram on the Instagram stories. And again, just documenting the journey, putting up video bites or sound clips or other various videos, just trying to get more and more content up there. And, I spent earlier last week, I was working on Waffles and Wrestling, which is a fun project. Again, check out Instagram TV. And I know I'm kind of rambling here a bit, guys, but then technology failed me. For whatever reason, the video that I was working on to produce didn't render correctly. So essentially, I tried to upload to YouTube about 10 times before I realized that the video just wasn't going to work. So I had to go back and re-render that. That's not a big deal. Again, once a computer's going, the computer's going. You can walk away from it. It's not a big deal. But that was just one snafu. During the live stream, because again, Tuesdays are my busy days, I tried to do a live stream, a pre-show, if you will, for the NWA Power. We call it the pre-party. And goodness gracious, between tech issues, the internet wasn't connecting. The internet was a poor connection. I don't know exactly what was going on, but my God, man, I couldn't get a bone thrown to me. It just did not want to work. It just didn't work. And as much as I tried, I couldn't get it to work. The video still is existing on YouTube right now. I've decided I'm going to leave it to show myself that, you know what, technology isn't mastered by me, and in any moment it can make you its bitch, because that's what it did to me yesterday. With all that, then I had files get lost in between uploading to Instagram and downloading to my phone, and it was just a mess, guys. And normally these days don't happen for me. Normally things are pretty good, but yesterday was rough, and I'm glad it's over. So, J-Cal, why are you so high on this way back Wednesday for United Wrestling Network, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood? What is so great about these shows? What's the big idea? Well, I know a lot of you guys listening right now are new to the NWA. Maybe you grew up with the NWA, but I guarantee more than half the people listening to this show right now were not watching the NWA back in 2008. And that's okay, because Dave Marquez has got you covered. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has got you covered. D-Man Parker has got you covered. Yes, the Way Back Wednesday is, well, it's a glimpse into about a decade ago. A lot of people tend to forget there was a time between the NWA World Heavyweight Championship being defended in Impact Wrestling to today, where the NWA World Heavyweight Championship is defended on NWA Power. And in that time, there was a lot of great wrestling, a lot of interesting stuff. One thing that people sleep on is 10 years ago, and actually maybe closer to 12 years ago, David Marquez was promoting wrestling events in small to mid-sized arenas. And we're not talking high school gyms, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, he was literally promoting shows in the Orleans Arena, the Hidalgo Sports Arena in Texas. I mean, he was running shows all over really the Southwest, Texas, Florida, Arizona, all over Texas, really, both, northern Texas, southern Texas, San Antonio, Houston, Hidalgo, Corpus Christi. I mean, they were running all over the place. They had shows in Canada. They even put on a show in conjunction with Explosive Pro Wrestling. That's EPW in Perth, Australia. The place that kind of brought us Shane Thorne, WWE's NXT's Shane Thorne, and Mikey Nichols, who's now wrestling for New Japan. Yeah, Dave really brought these shows, and sorry if I'm going off on a tangent here, but he really brought a lot of talented individuals onto these shows, and we get these really interesting matchups. So, for example, last week's show featured Hidaka from 0-1 versus TJ Perkins. Terrific match. It was a lot of fun. A great match to watch. It's wrestling like this that kind of kept me interested in the NWA at the time. And then fast forward to the next match, you've got Los Luchas, who are the former NWA World Tag Team Champions, against taking on Carl the Machine Gun Anderson. Yes, the same guy who's in the OG Bullet Club, or OC. What do they call him in the WWE now? I don't know. Joey Ryan, Impact's own Joey Ryan, the world famous dick wrestler. And they had a flag match. Then after that, there's a few other matches. But the show itself was entertaining to me. And they clipped these shows from the arenas. They called these at first, some of these arena shows were called the Pro Wrestling Summit, the NWA Pro Wrestling Summit. Then they later would change the names for the TV show to the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase. And again, these shows were taped throughout the United States. Before they ended up landing in the studio, though, they did studio TV with colors. Then they did studio TV with MAV TV. If you guys remember those days, I think that it preceded the colors day. And then they just kept putting on this really interesting content, and in my opinion, pretty interesting matches. This week they were at the NWA Legends Fan Fest, which was a fan fest held in, I believe, North Carolina. And, they talked to Bob Caudle, and they talked to One Man Gang. And in between that, we had matches with Scrap Iron, Adam Pearce, and Sean Waltman, X-Pac, 1-2-3 Kid. Also on that card, they had Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson if you're an old school, battling against Sean Denny, who was a local of the Mid-Atlantic area. They also had a tag team match, the Young Bucks. Yes, All Elite Wrestling's Young Bucks versus TJ Perkins and Rocky Romero, excuse me, Cobra 2 and Black Tiger Mask 4. And it was just, it was a fun time in wrestling. And I really miss those days. And I get it. And the NWA Power is such a great show. I'm a huge fan of it. But this was kind of that before then, if that makes sense at all. You can find them on YouTube. That it is the United Wrestling Network, but the URL is youtube.com/VIP guide. I cannot recommend these videos enough. You certainly should check them out if you have an opportunity to do so, because again, just great fun times. So yeah, check it out. Let me know what you thought of the show, and just again, a real fun time in wrestling. Leave me a comment here or wherever you follow me on social media at the Alliance Blog. Let me know what you thought of the shows, because I'm jazzed that they're back. I hope D-Man Parker, I hope Dave Marquez, I hope they keep producing this content, because even though it's a decade old, it's still real to me, damn it. So the big news coming out of the NWA was the price point for the pay-per-view, Into the Fire, not to be confused with the Dokken theme song for NWA Power, but the actual pay-per-view. Now, no matches have been announced yet, but I could assume that all the titles will be on the line. That's probably not a unreasonable expectation. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks of television. Of course, with Nick Aldis on the cover, busted open and bleeding, one could only imagine that it's got to be a a world title match at the very least. Other news is, of course, last weekend, I kind of went over some of this stuff at the live stream yesterday, but we'll go ahead and touch on it again. Everybody's favorite female fatale, the one and only Thunder Rosas, made her mixed martial arts debut and was given a lot of credit, but ultimately defeated in a unanimous decision. But she did last the 3 rounds, and I think that's something that should be celebrated because this was her first fight, guys. Now, she had signed a deal with Combates Americanas, Americas, and she was set to, take on Nadine Maddow, and obviously Nadine Maddow had a little bit more experience. Now, Nadine Maddow was 0-1 coming into this match, but again, she'd been in the cage before. This was Melissa Cervantes, Thunder Rosa's first time stepping into the ring, or not ring, but into the cage, and she took her lumps, but she came out maybe even better for it. Earned a lot of respect from the wrestling community, and hopefully that, we'll see how that translates into the NWA, because, there is a paradox here, because she's being painted as the ultimate babyface for stepping in the octagon and having a fight, and we're blurring the lines of, of reality and the fantasy that is the NWA Power universe. So I don't know. She's supposed to be a heel, but how are you going to boo somebody who's proven to be an actual legitimate competitor? Anyways, Thunder Rosas will be returning to Japan January 4th for Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Now, this won't be the first time Thunder Rosas has stepped foot in Japan for wrestling. Just a few years ago, she was in the ring in Stardom with tag team partner Holidead. They were actually representing the NWA International Tag Team Champions. So it'll be cool to see Thunder Rosa step back into that ring. Or not into that ring, but going back to Japan. I think it's always cool when the NWA talent is showcased in other promotions, and who knows, maybe this might be a title match when she heads to Japan. Other big news is Colt Boom Boom Cabana, your NWA national champion, has started working a lot with New Japan Pro Wrestling. If you guys weren't aware of this, he's been on this last tour teaming with Toru Yano, two comedic wrestlers, right? On this leg of the tour that they have in the United States, actually in California. And so it's always cool to see Cabana getting extra dates. Now, he's no stranger, again, to working with New Japan Pro Wrestling, because for years with Ring of Honor, he had matches with and in the Ring of Honor shows that were connected to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And obviously, you guys may or may not remember his time as World's Heavyweight Champion. He actually took the title to Japan, but not for New Japan Pro Wrestling, but for Pro Wrestling Noah. He actually wore the 10 pounds of gold in Noah, which I think is pretty badass. Sure, I'd have liked to seen him defend the title there, but the fact that he took that 10 pounds of leather and gold to the land of the rising sun, well, that just makes me feel all warm and cozy inside. But I think that's going to do it for me this week on the podcast. Again, if you're a fan of the show, please hit like, please hit subscribe. And while you're at it, why don't you visit our YouTube channel or our Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or Twitch and hit subscribe, like, follow, hearts. And that's at The Alliance Blog. So any of those social medias at The Alliance Blog. And you'll see more JCal's View coming up in the next few weeks. Again, tonight we are recording the podcast with a former NWA World Champion. Who is that champion? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. But that's going to do it for me this time. Again, you guys, I appreciate your listenership as always. And I'll see you at the matches.